Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another yarn review specifically for chunky spring and summer yarn. And today we are talking about Premier's Cotton Fair Bulky. Now, usually there would be a skein of yarn in here, but I have already started using it. So these are what's left. I have one other color. I can show you guys this one right here. I only have the smaller ones left because I already started working with it and I forgot to hang on to one to show you guys the full thing. Let me make sure. I may actually still have one full one left. Oh, looky there. I actually did. So this is what it looks like before you start using it. This is Premier's Cotton Fair Bulky yarn. And I have to say, I was really excited when they came out with this because one of my favorite yarns to use for crop tops, so like the one that I am wearing right now, actually, I like to use bulky cotton for my crop tops, which is actually kind of hard to find. And I will show you guys, usually I will use, now you can still find this as well. This is a cotton nylon blend, but this is Bernat Maker Home Deck yarn. This is one of my favorite yarns to use for my crop tops because it is a bulky 5-weight cotton blend, so it breathes well in the summertime. But when I found out that Premier was coming out with a cotton blend yarn that was a chunky cotton blend, I was so excited because I was just so hopeful that it would actually work out, and it does. It is a true chunky. It recommends using a 6.5 millimeter hook, which is actually on the larger hook size for some of the chunkier yarns. So I was really excited to try it, and I have not been let down. And actually the top that I'm wearing right now, you can see the color blend here. This is a Premier cotton blend. This is the Premier Cotton Fair Bulky because they actually have a lot of the variegated colors as well as some really pretty bright colors like these. I chose this color combination for my current project, and I really do enjoy working with it. It's very soft. It is a cotton acrylic blend. It's 52% cotton, 48% acrylic. You get 153 yards. So it is a lot of yarn. It packs a wallop in the little package. So it's a nice large yardage number. It is machine washable and dryable. And I will say from experience, I have washed and dried all of my bralettes that I have made using this, and it's been fantastic. So far, I haven't really even had color fade. Like this one is still nice and bright despite wearing it multiple times and washing it multiple times already. It feels good against my skin. It doesn't have as much give or stretch as a Bernat Maker Home Deck, but this has nylon in it. So you're not really going to get around, you know, having the acrylic helps give it a little more give, but you're not going to have the same amount of give as something that's got nylon mixed in. But for what it is, absolutely love it. Now, I will show you guys what I have already started working on, which is a project where I'm holding it double. So this is one of my Pomona tees. I'm making another one. If you guys look up, I'll put a link in the description to my Pomona tee crochet pattern. It is a sleeveless summer shirt, and you make it in 2 separate panels that you then sew together on the side and sew together on the front. You've got a nice V-neck in the front and the back. You can even add a bunch of length and make it into a little dress. Very versatile pattern. Now that pattern calls for a 14 millimeter hook, which I was looking around for mine and I don't see it, but this is a 14 millimeter hook, and I held the yarn doubled. It's so soft and squishy. So if you wanted to create my Luna cardigan or my Trelawney cardigan or my Tonks hoodie, you could hold this yarn doubled up and it makes a perfect substitute for a super bulky 6-weight yarn. So, and it's got a lot of squish. Like I said, you guys can just, I feel like you can tell, even just on the video, how squishy this yarn is, especially when it is held double like that. Now, I will tell you, this is a multi-stranded yarn. So if you look, I've started making a bucket hat holding the yarn double. This is my Sneaky Buns bucket hat that I'm working on. You can see that it is multi-stranded yarn. So again, if you struggle with dealing with splitty yarn, if it's just not something you want to deal with at all, you don't like multi-stranded yarn, this may not be the yarn for you. But I will tell you, holding it double, so if you decide to do something like this where I'm holding it double, it's super helpful when you're dealing with yarn that may feel a little temperamental at times. To me, holding yarn doubled helps make almost any yarn easier to work with. So that is an option with this yarn. So let's flip the camera around and we'll make a couple of swatches. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and continue working on my bucket hat a little bit so you guys can see what this looks like being held double. Let's see. I'm using an 11mm hook for this. I think the pattern calls for a 12mm hook, so you could really get away with either. Maybe you've got like an 11.5mm hook. I know that's a nice common size, but I wanted to just show you guys a couple of stitches with this held double using my 11mm hook. There you go. So as you can see, depending on the hook you use and the way that you're working with your yarn, it shouldn't be too prone to split. I think a lot of it is patience. This may not be the best yarn for trying to zone out and not look at your work, because that's going to make it easier to kind of misstep or misgrab your yarn and maybe cause a little bit of splittage. But you can see, like I said, this is a nice squishy look to it. The stitches look really nice. And again, this is held double with an 11mm hook. You can compare that to held double with a 14mm hook. And obviously, you've got a much tighter stitch here with the 11 versus the 14. Now, let's try using, let's see if I have a 6.5mm hook. Okay, I couldn't find a 6.5, but here is one of my 7mm hooks. So I think that's about as close as I'm going to get right now. These are our 3D printed ergonomic crochet hooks. If you are looking for a hook that's going to help with some of the hand and wrist pain, especially that comes along with working with some of these bulkier yarns, check them out. We've got a lot of them in stock. That's our goal, is to have as many sizes in stock as possible so that you can find the size that you need when you need it. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try with the recommended hook size. So again, it calls for a 6.5. I'm going to use a 7 since right now I didn't want to have to continue trying to dig and find my 6.5mm hook. But I think this will be a good substitute for now, and we'll see what this looks like. Now, I am most likely not going to be creating anything with this with a 6.5mm hook unless I'm making one of my bralettes, and those I actually use a 5.5mm hook, so that way I can get the stitches even tighter. But let's see, and again, if you see, I'm immediately having a little bit more of a struggle, at least for that first one. Hopefully I won't for the rest of these. But I think when you hold yarn single-stranded and you're working into a tighter space, if yarn is prone to split, I feel like that's probably more likely when you're going to see that splittage versus holding it doubled or using a larger hook size. I think when you have more room to work through the spaces, it can make it a little bit easier to not have the splitting. But I mean, so far it hasn't split. So, you know, we're doing good so far. So let's work some single crochet stitches across. I'm going to do at least one row of single crochet, one row of half double so that you guys can see the stitch definition of this yarn. It's very soft on my hands, which I love. It has just enough give to make it nice and easy to work with. I don't feel like I'm fighting against this yarn, which is really nice. And overall, I am just a really, really big fan of this yarn. If you want to check it out, I do have links in the description. I have affiliate links in the description too. So if you like it and you want to purchase through those links, you'll help me make a little bit of a commission if you decide you want to check this yarn out. So I thank you in advance if you decide to purchase some. But I think you'll like it too. I mean, if this is the kind of thing you're looking for, is the chunkier yarn like me, because I love my chunky yarn. I am always on the lookout for good, chunky, and super bulky yarn, especially for warmer weather. It's obviously really easy to make super bulky and chunky things and wearables during the winter time, because there are a lot of chunky wool options out there, but not as many when you're looking at cotton and cotton blends. So it is always a true joy to find. And so now you can see this first one I'm struggling with a bit. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Now, half double crochet, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You're having to work through all three of these loops. So sometimes it is a little easier to end up having the yarn snag a little bit, especially on that second loop. Trying to get through there. Yep, see I'm hitting some of those snags. So that's another thing. If you're using yarn that can be splitty or temperamental, stick with super simple stitches like single crochet. So you can see I've already got, yeah, this is a little bit of a struggle here for me using this yarn. Maybe I'm just not going quick enough. Nope, I still snagged that a little bit. So it definitely is not a fan of half double crochet, but I feel like I flew through the single crochets and I really didn't have any issues. It's just trying to get through that middle, see, and I snagged some there. But this is why we do yarn reviews, so you guys can see. Like I said, I don't work with this size yarn anyway, unless it's to make my crop tops. And my crop tops are pretty much all single crochet. So it was a trade-off with this yarn, and for me it was worth it because it did create such a nice, soft, machine washable bralette that I can wear on a very regular basis. And since I was using single crochet for the majority of it, and see I've even got a little split here, but I'm just going to leave it on there and carry that over. That's fine. I've only got one more. But it was worth fighting through the little bit of splittage that I got using single crochet to use this yarn for my bralettes. Now, like I said, using this yarn double-stranded with a larger hook has been a true treat because I don't have anywhere near the amount of splittage that I have when I'm trying to use like the recommended hook size. Like again, this is a 7mm working with this, but I don't make projects like this, like I said, unless I'm doing like a bralette, which I'm going to use an even smaller hook size. You know, this is really more my speed, holding this double and using the larger hook. So this is a lighter weight yarn. If you struggle making chunkier items because they're heavier, this is a great option to hold these doubled and create some of those items, because this is just really, really soft, and again, easy to machine wash and wear if you're making your wearable. So like this will make a great little hat. I'm making a bucket hat. And it'll be great to be able to just throw it in the wash, you know, and be able to wear it that way. So I recommend using this yarn if you're going to double it up, or if you're using a project that only really calls for like a single crochet, because you're going to have less of an issue with splittage. Make sure that you use the right hook. You know, try out different hooks and see which ones make it easier for you to deal with splittage. Some people prefer the less tapered hook. Let's see. So like this is a more rounded hook, and sometimes that can help lessen the amount of splittage, because the pointier the hook, sometimes that can actually go into the splits and cause them versus having the rounded edge. But again, you can check out our hooks if you want to. We have these in our shop. These are nice ergonomic hooks to help you with any of the hand and wrist pain. But if you enjoyed this tutorial, this yarn review, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe so you don't miss any more of my reviews or tutorials or yarny shenanigans. And until next time, happy hooking!